Hello, everyone. Hello, and happy Monday. Welcome to today's Monday's live session. Um, Listen, some of y'all have been struggling with a resume situation, and I asked you in my stories yesterday. I asked you, what did you want me to teach on today? And resoundingly, the topic was on how to build a resume that stands out. So I hope that you can hear me well and you can see me well. If you can hear me well and see me well, can you give me a one in the chat? If you can hear me well and see me well, can you give me a one in the chat to make sure that you can hear me and see me? You can't hear me. Oh, no volume. Okay. Let's see what's going on. Hold on one second. Can you hear me well and see me well? Can you give me a one in the chat? If you can hear me well and see me well. Okay, I'm seeing some ones. I'm seeing some ones. Okay. So today I'm pretty pumped to be able, thank you. Hi, friend. I'm pumped to be able to connect with y'all today because you have been asking about resumes, how to write them, what to do to stand out, what is like all of the things. And let's just put some stuff, let's make it real plain right now. Okay. So when it comes to where we are right now, number one, it is very difficult right now to find a job. And I'm going to break this down for you in a little bit. Um, Somebody said you're always so pumped. I am always so pumped. But anyway, I want to be able to teach you from a perspective of what is happening right now in a very real way. So, like that, you know what to expect, how you can prepare, and what you should be doing in order to keep yourself marketable in this type of environment. So, when it comes to writing your resume, there are three things that I'm going to cover today that I hope will help you gain some clarity surrounding what to expect and how to make the most out of your resume in a way that makes the most sense. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to, the three things that we're going to cover today, we're going to cover the types of resumes. There's three different types. The type that you need to be the most concerned with is the type that is the most relevant for where you are right now. Okay. So that's going to be the things that we're going to cover. We're going to cover the three different types of resumes. We're going to cover your resume format, and we're also going to cover your resume layout. I have my notes over to the side so that I don't miss anything. Okay. So I hope that when you are here joining me today, that you are ready to take some notes, that you are ready to just get all of these gems that I'm going to be dropping, because I'm going to be moving quick. I have my executive assistant with me today, which is my son. So he may or may not make an appearance. And so if you've ever joined the live when my son is around, baby, it gets busy real quick. Okay, so I'm going to be moving fast. I hope you are not listening slow. So make sure that you got something to write with. Make sure you have something to take notes with, because I promise you, this resume is going to be like a quick boot camp of what to expect. Okay, so if you're ready for the resume breakdown, I want you to type ready in the chat. Okay, if you are ready for this resume breakdown, I want you to type ready in the chat. Here's another thing that I want you to do to make sure that we are ready. If these types of lives help you, would you share it with somebody else, please? Let them know, listen, you don't want to miss this. Make sure you show up. Okay. So share it with someone who needs it. I want you to type ready in the chat, share it with someone who needs it, and we're going to get right into it. Okay. So, number one, if you are new to my space, welcome. My name is Susanna Briscoe-Alba. I am the lead career strategist at Dunamis Coaching and Consulting Services. We teach people like you, specifically women, how to land six-figure roles through leadership development and career strategy. Okay, what we are going to be talking about today is how to build a resume that stands out in this type of market. Okay. So I'm going to break down what are the three different types of resume formats. You will be able to identify which one of these is going to be the best fit for you. I'm also going to share with you which one I use with my clients, so like that you have an understanding. I'm also going to break down for you what type of frameworks you can use for your resume, so like that you're not stressing yourself out trying to figure it out. And lastly, I'm going to break down format. Those are the three major topics that I'm going to cover, hopefully in the next half hour to 40 minutes or so. So here we go. For those of you who are asking me in the chat on LinkedIn and on YouTube, hey fam bam, on Instagram, hey fam bam. Okay, this is going to be saved. So yes, you will have access to this recording, and it is going to be saved. I am going to tell you that because I am moving so fast, I likely will not be able to uncover it all. But if you rock with me till the end, I will teach you and tell you what you can do in order to be able to get all of it. Okay. All right. Subject matter material. Point number one: types of resume. Okay, types of resume. There are three types of resumes that you need to be aware of, ladies and gentlemen. There are three types of resume that you should be aware of. The first is going to be a functional resume, okay, or also known as a skills-based resume. The second is going to be a chronological resume, which is usually what we're taught in school and university. Chronologically list out your abilities. And then the third is going to be the combination of those two, skills based and the chronological. Okay, so there's going to be three types that you need to be aware of: the functional type of resume, which is also known as a skills based resume; the chronological, which is typically what we learn in school. If you go to business school or university, that's typically what they're teaching you, the chronological form. And then there is the combination of those two. I typically, for my clients, work with the functional resume, or I should say the combination resume, which is melding the functional piece plus the chronological piece. That's typically the type that I use with my clients. So, like that, it's the best representation of who they are. We highlight their skills and we also give chronologically where they were and where they activated those skills. So, when it comes to your resume, there are three types. There is the skills based or functional. There is going to be the chronological order, and then there's going to be a combination of the two. Whichever of those three works for you is the one that I'm going to recommend that you pour into. Now, I'm going to make suggestions. Suggestions. Okay. This does not mean that you have to do it because Susanna said so. I'm going to make suggestions for my students, especially those who are finishing university in the next couple of months. You're finishing college and you're going to start going into the workforce. Okay, I need you to be aware that just because you finished school does not mean that you don't have experience. So likely for you, a skills-based type of resume will be very, very useful to you, because what you are going to focus on is the skills that you have developed over your college or university time, plus any internships that you've done. You want to list out what are some of those skills relevant to the role that you are applying for. Relevant to the role that you are applying for. For those of you who are in a season where you're at a career pivot, 9 times out of 10, my clients are those types of individuals who are in the middle of a career pivot. They have oodles and oodles of experience and they're not sure how to put that on a resume. 9 times out of 10, for those of you who are at a career pivot, I'm going to recommend that you operate under the combination of that. Tell me a little bit about your skills. Tell me a little bit about the functions that you've had. Okay. I don't know where the fireworks are coming from. If you're watching me on YouTube and on LinkedIn, I don't know where it's coming from. But it must be that I'm hot. So that's why the fireworks are showing up. But anyway, for those of you who are at a career pivot, it's likely going to be a combination. For those of you who are fresh out of college, it's likely going to be a functional piece. For those of you who have gaps on your resume and you're super concerned about the gaps on your resume, speak about the functions and the skills that you have, because that's likely going to be a great place for you to land. Okay. So the three that I spoke about were skills-based, function, right? I talked about chronological, and then I talked about the combo, which is combining both of those two to get the best representation of who you are. All right. So those are the types of resumes that are available to you. Those are usually the three that I'm looking for as a hiring manager. You choose whichever you think is going to be the best fit for you. Here's another thing that I want you to be mindful of. When you are putting information on your resume, I want you to focus over on your impact over your job function. Somebody type that in the chat. Impact over job function. And I'm going to get some water because I'm going fast and I want to make sure that you're listening. So impact over job function. Somebody type that in the chat. Impact over job function. Okay. Come on. This is going to be an interactive situation. All right. I'm starting to see it. Hey, Roxy, baby. Hi, honey. I love when my clients show up. Hi, honey. How are you? Impact over job function. Yes, that's exactly what I want you to remember now that we're moving into what all is going to go into your resume. So we talked about the different types. Now I'm going to tell you what goes onto your resume and how. It's going to be the impact over job function. What does that mean? Meaning, when you are going to depict or share your job story on your resume, I don't necessarily just want to know what functions you had. Do not, do not copy your job description and put that on your resume. I can tell you right now that that's not going to work for you. Do not copy your job description and put that on your resume. That is not a flex or a bold move. Okay. Do not copy and paste the job description that you are applying for and highlight and like hide it on your resume. That's also not going to help you. Okay. Listen, the other thing that I want you to be mindful of, y'all, is there's a lot of um there's a lot of people out here just trying to get your money. And there's also a lot of people out here just telling you foolishness, and it's leading people to a place of frustration. And some of the advice that I've heard when it comes to this type of market in terms of hiring and what's going to get you to stand out, um it's a whole bunch of lies and it's a whole bunch of trash. So I'm teaching you this from a place of just honestly real sincerity because I don't want you to get caught slipping. Okay. So do not copy your job description and put it on your resume. Do not copy the job description that you are applying for and then put that on your resume because that's also not going to help you. What we want to see is the impact that you have had either in school, at your former job, in any places that you have been at. What is the impact that you have made? So for those of you who are currently employed, and let's say you're a receptionist, don't just tell me that you picked up phones and you answered emails and made sure that packages got to where they got to go. That is a job function. Impact is telling me the volume of phone calls that you are comfortable handling, the amounts of emails and or calendars that you manage for the people that you work with. What logistically did you do to make sure that packages and or other items were delivered specifically, accurately, and on time? Can you see how that is more impactful than just telling me that you picked up the phone? Did you build relationships with any of the clients and or vendors that you were working with? Did they have to go through you in order to get to a decision maker? That is impact. That lets me know that as a hiring manager, you know how to handle conversations with high level stakeholders. But if all you're telling me is that you picked up the phone, that's not okay. Most people know how to pick up the phone. Okay. So I'm giving you a little bit of New York realness, but I want you to be very aware that if all you're telling me is like your job description stuff, that's not telling me that you're the good fit for it. Okay? So I want you to be aware of that. If this is helping you, I want you to type helping me because I want to make sure that y'all are picking up what I'm putting down. There's a lot of people out on these streets saying a whole lot of, and it's not getting you anywhere. This is why people are applying to hundreds, if not thousands of jobs and then finding themselves feeling frustrated because like, why isn't it working? I did everything homegirl or homeboy said, and I'm still kind of stuck in the same spot. Just I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to make sure that you're not out slipping. A lot of this you can do by yourself, which would be counterintuitive for me as a hiring manager and as a CEO and as a business owner, for me to be telling you you could do this all by yourself. But the truth is that I'm aware that some of my people cannot work with someone like myself. And that's cool. You want to say hi to the people? I told y'all my dinosaur was going to show up. Say hi. So I want to make sure that even if you cannot work with a coach like myself, that if you decide that you want to do this on your own, you can, number one. And number two, that at the same token, you know how to do this on your own, because even after working with a coach, you should still know how to articulate your value in a powerful way. Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent, but I want to make sure that y'all understand. Okay. So I really should like just keep it to myself, but I'm not doing that. Okay. I do write resumes for people. I do coach people on interviews. Like I do all of those things. That is my full-time job. That is what I do for individuals. So I should keep this information to myself. But at the same token, I understand that not everybody can afford to work with a coach. So I want to make sure that you are prepared. Fair? Fair? If you're with me, I want you to write fair. Okay. Hi, Eugene. Hi, sweetheart. That's another friend of mine, y'all. I love when my friends show up, because you know why I love when my friends show up who work in the same space? Because if I'm talking crazy, they can check you. They gonna check me in real time. Like, sis, you out of your mind. That's not true. But my friends, they keep me humble. Okay. All right. So far, I'm going to catch us up to what we've spoken about. The first thing that we talked about was the types of resume. There were three. The resume that is going to help you to stand out is the one that works for the industry that you are applying for. You need to know that information. Okay. That's number one. Number two, your framework for your resume. Your framework. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. I told you it was impact over job function, right? That's what we talked about. But now the framework that I want you to think through when you're creating your bullets, remember I told you don't just copy your job description and put it here on a resume, because ain't nobody, that's not gonna help you. The framework that I want you to think of when it comes to you building your resume and still get you to have impact over job function is going to be none other than CAR. CAR. In some cases, it's going to be PAR. At the end of the day, they both do the same thing. Okay? So CAR, CAR. I have undiagnosed myself, but I have like a short attention span. And so frameworks really help me to keep myself in order and keep myself together. Okay. So this is why I teach with frameworks. If you've been to any of my workshops, if you've been to any other live, I'm usually going to give you a framework. Okay. So for your resume, the framework that I want you to think through is either going to be CAR or PAR, CAR or PAR. Foundationally, they're going to do the same thing. CAR is going to stand for what is the challenge? What action steps did you take? And what was your result? Challenge, action stakes. I'm hungry. Action steps. And what was the result? Okay. PAR, PAR is going to be what was the problem? What action steps did you take? And what was the result? You see, they're both the same thing. Just depends on who you talk to. CAR, challenge, action step, result. Okay. PAR, problem, action step, result. Same thing. Okay. So I want you to think through that when you are creating the bullets that are going to go on your resume, because a lot of people start saying a whole lot of fluff and there's very little action step or result. Okay. So CAR or PAR, what was the problem or challenge? What action steps did you take? And what was the result? Okay. An example of that is going to be problem was that we were understaffed. Action steps that I took was that I started to create a system to identify what were our pain points. By creating said system, the result was that we were able to successfully divide the caseload amongst the staff that we had and maximize human capital while retaining star staff. Can you see how that is impact over job function? I told you what the challenge was. I told you what action steps I took by creating a system. And then I told you what the results were. We were successful in being able to break out the course load and retain the staff while increasing client satisfaction. Okay. Now, typically what I get after I say something like that is, Susanna, but what if my work I can't track? You should be tracking your work. You should be, because the organization that you work for is tracking your work. So if you're not tracking what you're doing, you're leaving yourself open for them to misalign or misrepresent the work that you do. So if you are not tracking your work, today is a great day to start. Okay? Today is a great day to start. Because I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention. 9 times out of 10, people are telling me, I don't know, I don't do any work that is trackable. They wouldn't have hired you if you didn't. That's just the reality of it. Like, we're not, as a hiring manager, I'm not going to bring people onto my staff just because the sky is blue. There's things that I'm hiring people to do, and I am tracking what it is that you're doing. Right? So you need to be able to start tracking what is the work that you're doing. And then the follow-up that I get to that question is, well, how do I track the work that I do? Well, pay attention to who you're working with. What is the purpose of this work? What are the results that you've been able to achieve while you have been there? And the easiest way that you can start to pay attention to that is, what was the role like before you started, or when you started? What did it look like? And how has it changed since you joined the game? Does this make sense? Does this make sense? If this makes sense, I want you to drop a 3 in the chat. What did the role look like when you started? And how has it changed since you joined the game? If that makes sense, I want you to drop a 3 in the chat. Always, always, always track your work. Because if you're not tracking it, I can guarantee you, when it comes to your one-on-one with your manager, they will have metrics and performance standards that they are using to track how impactful or successful you are in the role. Even I don't know what that is, y'all. So I want you to pay attention, okay? So pay attention to your work. Make sure that you are keeping an evidence list of the work that you are doing. Okay. For my tribe who has been rocking with me for a while, if you've been a part of my tribe for a while and you know what an evidence list is, can you give us a little bit of what you know the evidence list to be? Because I think this is going to be really helpful for those who are watching. Okay. If you have been rocking with me for some time, you already know that I've been telling you to keep an evidence list. It's a powerful tool. It's not only good for when you are working, it's also really good for when you are job searching. And you should always be searching. Listen, y'all, the best time to look for a job is while you still have one. Best time, because it takes the pressure off. You can go on interviews, and if you like it, you like it. They make you an offer, you consider it. But if you don't, you don't. And then there's no pressure for you to feel like you have to find something else. Okay. So an evidence list is going to be your tracker. Okay. It's going to be the place and space where you start to articulate the work that you are doing, who you're doing it for, what has been the achievement or what has been the outcome of said project that you have been working on. Track your work, y'all. Okay? Track your work. If you're going on an interview in any span of time, make sure you've done your research. Make sure that you've prepared. Make sure that you have questions because they're going to have all of those things on you. Okay? So make sure that you're tracking your work. Make sure that you're using one of the two frameworks, PAR or CAR on your resume. When you go to create your bullets, think PAR or CAR. What is the challenge? Okay. What has been the challenge? What action steps did you take? And what was the result? Um, okay, so somebody just asked very quickly. I'm going to answer this question and then at the end I'll take some questions from you guys. But for those of you who are in the service industry, um, I love answering this question for y'all because for those of you who are in the service industry, it's going to look like how many, especially if you work at a restaurant, how many tables on average were you responsible for? And on average, how many customers or clients were you working with? It's one thing to tell me that you know how to wait tables for like 10 people. It's another thing entirely for you to tell me that on average you were waiting tables or dealing with at least 100 to 300 customers or clients on a weekly basis. Some people don't know how to talk to two people. And here you are taking orders, making sure that things run smoothly, making sure that clients leave happy, building relationships for up to 300 people on a week. You need to be able to track that kind of work. Okay. So PAR is going to be problem, action, result. CAR is going to be challenge, action, result. Same thing. Okay. So, and all of this information, all of that framework stuff that I just told you, make sure that it is relevant for the position that you are applying for. Another example, if you are going to be applying for a project management role, then I probably don't need to know that you were working at McDonald's unless it is relevant to the role that you are applying for. Some of the things that I see on people's resumes is just not relevant. So it's taking up space. Let me also tell you why I'm sharing this with you. The very first rounds of layoffs that we saw in the United States were for recruiters and human resource people. So the current recruiters and human resource people that are working, there used to be like 6 of them. Now there's maybe only 2. So guess how much time they're spending reading 3 and 4 page resumes or reading resumes that are not relevant to the positions that they're hiring for. Why? Because one requisition for a hiring manager and or a recruiter can have anywhere between 3 to 400 applicants on the low end. And so if you are not one of those who knows how to display your impact quickly, we're probably not going to get there. So when we're talking about your resume, you want to make sure that you've identified which of the 3 you're going to use to apply. Secondly, you're going to identify which of the 2 frameworks that I shared with you should be using. And lastly, I want you to think about the layout. Okay. In this type of economy, I can tell you, especially here in the US, we hiring managers and recruiters, we are not checking for the colors that you have on your resume. We are not checking for all of the tables that you have on your resume. You want to know what questions we're asking you or asking ourselves as we're looking through these candidates? Can they do the job? Do they have the experience? Those are the 2 questions that I'm trying to answer. I'm not trying to figure out, did they use the right font? Did they have pretty colors? Is really irrelevant. So less is more. And because there is such a high volume, your resume should be skimmable, easy for us to follow. Okay? On average, we spend anywhere between 6 to maybe 10 seconds skimming through a resume. Probably even less for recruiters because they're trying to figure out based off of what the hiring manager told them, where, like, do you have it or do you not? So I need you to pay attention to those kinds of things. Your resume format should be easy to follow and it should be skimmable. Okay? And I don't have a lot of time to break down for you, like to show you an actual resume. Um, but I probably will do a resume bootcamp. Uh, but make sure that your format for your resume is skimmable. Here's another tidbit that I'm going to share with you. Some of you have been hearing, keep your resume down to a page, keep your resume no more than 2 pages. Don't do this, don't do that. Let me tell you this. On average, the rule of thumb is for every 10 years, there should be 1 page. For every 10 years, there should be 1 page. Okay. However, some of y'all really do need a second page because you're shortchanging yourself by trying to cram everything into a single page that is not getting past the applicant tracking system, also known as the ATS. Okay? So you need to be able to assess, is the information that is on my resume relevant to the role that I am applying for? Number one. And number two, is it easy to follow? Is it easy to follow? That's all I want to know. If you're making it much more complicated than that, my love, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Okay. So, to break down the 3 things that I taught you today, the first thing that we talked about were the types of resume. There were 3. There is the skills based resume, also known as a functional resume. Okay. Then there's going to be the chronological one, which, if you've gone to business school at any given point, that's usually the one that you've been taught. When I went for my degrees, that was usually the resume that I was taught. And then the third one is going to be the combination of those two. A little bit of skills, a little bit of functionality. The one that I use with my clients is going to be the combination of those two, because I want to be able to accurately represent their entire career story. Okay. So those are the 3. Secondly, we talked about how you should input the information on your resume, either using the CAR framework or the PAR framework: challenge, action, result, problem, action, result. One of those 2. Impact over job function. What you are not going to do, especially if you claim to follow Susanna Briscoe-Alba, you are not going to take your job description and copy it onto your resume. Okay. Because listen, the industry, it might be big, but it's small. And if I find out that one of my followers is out here doing crazy, I'm going to love you to the moon and back, but we're going to have a conversation. Okay, friend? So I want to make sure that you are prepared. Okay. Also, the reason that I share with you guys this way as well is because when you hear of other experts that are teaching you things online, I want you to have your antenna going up like, that don't sound right. I don't know if that works. Pay attention to these people, because some people are out here giving you suggestions and they've never led a team in their life. They've never looked at a resume in their life. And all of a sudden they're a resume guru. Red flag. Just red flag. Okay. So please pay attention to those kinds of things. Because you work too hard to have people out here scamming you. Okay. Okay. Let's get back. So, types of resume, the framework that you're going to use, and then lastly, the format. For those of you who love Canva, unless you are a graphic designer, please stay out of Canva. Okay? A simple Word document is more than enough. A simple Word document is more than enough. Keep it short, sweet, and concise. Relevant to the role that you are applying for. Relevant to the role that you are applying for. Okay? Because I want you to make sure that if you're going to spend time crafting a resume, making sure that you're putting in the effort, let's try to get it to the eyes of the right people. But some of the formats I'm seeing are not right. If you have a picture on your resume, take that off. If you want people to be able to see your beautiful smile and your great looking outfit and your impeccable style, put that on your LinkedIn profile. That's where you can do that. But on your resume, absolutely not. Take it off. They don't need to see your picture. Okay. Some people feel the same way about LinkedIn. They don't want to have their picture there. No problem. But listen, please make sure that you are paying attention to those types of things. Other things that you should be paying attention to in terms of the format of your resume. If you have your full address on your resume, also take that off. You can leave it to your cover, you can leave it to your city, your state, and your country. City, state, country, that's all we need to know, especially if you're applying for the US. City, state, country, okay? They don't need to have your full address unless they coming over for dinner, friend. They don't need to know where you live. That ain't none of their business. Okay? So please make sure that you take that off. And then the same thing that you have, like the same header that you create for your resume should be the same header that you create for your cover letter. Now, usual question that I get is, Susanna, is a cover letter still relevant? It is if you know how to do it right. I like disruptive cover letters. Disruptive cover letters can be either in email form or you can upload them to the application tracking system. It it really does grind my gears when organizations have you fill out a application online and then they ask you to like copy and paste your cover letter and then they ask you to upload your resume. It's like, just pick one, okay? Why are we making it harder than it needs to be? Also, are you really going to read the cover letter? But when it comes to writing a cover letter, the more disruptive that it is, the stronger the possibilities of somebody connecting with you. What do I mean by a disruptive cover letter? It means that you have taken time to not only address your skill set and position yourself as the expert, but also it means that you can speak to how you see yourself functioning and being a good fit for the problem that the organization is facing. So that's what a disruptive cover letter is. And if you really want to get fancy, you could add a PS at the end of your email. But anyway, okay. For those of you who are asking about government resumes are also going to be very particular as to what they're going to be asking for, down to the amount of hours that you're working. Pay attention to those kinds of things because for some government job descriptions, they're very meticulous in letting you know what they're expecting from you on your resume. So that's the only, especially like US government, that's the only kind of category that stands on its own because sometimes they want you to have 4 and 5 pages of experience. But don't fill it up with fluff. If they're going to ask you for that kind of information, again, impact over job function. Impact over job function. Okay. So I want you to understand that. All right. So we covered 3 things today. I wish I had more time because I have like 5 pages worth of notes. Um, and I wish that I could share my screen so that I could show you what a resume looks like, especially like one that we've worked on. So 3 things that we covered today. Types of resume, the 3 different types. We covered the framework that you can use. There's 3 different types of framework. There's 2 different frameworks that I mentioned today, the CAR framework and the PAR framework. And then the layout should be simple, just short and sweet. If you are a note taker, this is going to be this part where you want to take notes. This is why I wish I could share my screen. I'm going to have to do the boot camp because the first thing that you want to do is at the top of your page, you're going to create your contact information and where your LinkedIn profile is going to be, all that other jazz, right? So that's going to be at the top. Followed by that, I want you to give me a summary of your work experience relevant to the position that you're applying for. Okay. Impact over job function. So if you have 10 years, you have over a decade of experience. Y'all, terminology is very important. You have a decade of experience relevant to the role that you're applying for. Okay. All right. So after that summary, you're going to give me your technical stuff. What are the systems? What are the processes? What are the softwares that you are using? Here's where I see a lot of people struggling. So more often than not, what I see is I see a lot of people tell me that they're fluent or they're proficient in Microsoft Office. That to me is going to be a given, because YouTube University, like, you could sit through a couple of YouTube classes, and I'm assuming that you know how to do that. So if there are things within Microsoft that you are proficient in, like SharePoint or any PowerPoints that you're really good, like, those are the things you want to call out specifically. Because one of the things that I will tell you, one of my least favorite functions of Microsoft Office is Excel. It's just not my jam. So why am I going to say that I am proficient in Microsoft Excel when I know for dang sure I don't know how to do a pivot table? So imagine my surprise when I go to the job and they're like, "Can you create a pivot table for X, Y, and Z?" I'm gonna be like, "I ain't the one. I am not the one." Okay. So when you are listing the things on your resume, we're gonna start off with your kind of information, who you are, followed by your summary, the systems and processes that you are familiar with. Another one that I see a lot of is Salesforce, proficient in Salesforce. There's 90 different versions of Salesforce. Which one are you good at? Call it out with specificity, okay? Somebody said Excel is the devil. All right, after you've given me your technical pieces, then you can break down what are either some of your career highlights and or some of your functional experience pieces, some of the skills that you are good with, okay? So if you're good with public speaking, if you have experience with leading a team, change management, like those kinds of things, that's going to go under your experiences. And then from there, you can go into the chronological work that you've done. Okay. And then at the end of that, you go into your education. Also, by the time you get to education, please take off the years of graduation if you've done that. Okay. Because again, bias is a real thing. So we don't want to give any reason for anyone not to hire you. Okay. So was this helpful? If this was helpful, give me a 5 in the chat. It's almost like you're giving me a high five. Give me a 5 in the chat. If this was helpful, give me a 5 in the chat, because I'm trying to give you like as much as I can. Some of this is going to be like visually, you need to see what it looks like. And I understand that. So if this was helpful, I want you to give me a 5 in the chat. As you are doing that, the reason that I'm teaching y'all this is because so some of you may or may not know, I'm hosting a conference, a leadership conference in June. And one of the things that we're going to be doing at the leadership conference is we're going to be sharing opportunities that companies have shared with me that I can share with y'all. But it will be to your detriment if I share a job and you don't have the right stuff to apply for said job. And then for you to say, "Oh, Susanna sent me." Oh, she did? Because who? Where you applying with that kind of resume? No, ma'am. No, sir. So in order for us to get you ready for the conference, for you to be able to apply for these positions, at minimum, I think the lowest role that I've seen so far is 150K a year. You have to make sure that your resume is ready for a 150K type of role. So this is why I'm teaching you this way, because if you're coming to the conference, you need to be ready. Some of these people will be in the room. This is why networking becomes so important. None of what I do is just for the sake of, "Hey, friend." No, no, no. I need you to be ready. I need you to be ready. Okay. So at the conference, we're going to teach you how to do that. At the conference, we're going to teach you how to apply for some of these roles. But if your resume is not ready, we can't do that. And I cannot share some of these high paying jobs if your resume is not ready. Because if you are ready, then you don't have to get ready. Okay. All right. So y'all are giving me a 5. Now listen, let me see if I can do this quick. Beautiful. Um, Here's what we're going to do. If you comment the word sauce, on this live, what's going to happen is it's going to put you on our email list. On my email list, I don't spam you. I email you once a week. But the folks who are on my email list will get access to the boot camp that I'm going to do. Let me look at my calendar because I feel like my staff just told me I have a boot camp on the calendar. I'm actually going to be hosting one. Look at that. April 10th, which is a Wednesday, I believe. April 10th at what time am I doing this? 7? Come on. Where are we? April 10th at 7 p.m. I am going to be hosting a resume bootcamp. That is a Wednesday night. Sauce, SAUCE. If you comment the word sauce, you will get the link to be able to get on my email list. What happens when you get on my email list is that I am exclusively going to share that with the folks who are on my email list. So save the date. April 10th at 7 p.m. I'm going to be hosting a resume bootcamp. There, I'll be able to show you what a resume looks like. I'll be able to, I may even, depending on how fancy we get, I may even review your resume in real time. Depending, okay? But you need to get on the list. So you need to get on the list. For those of you who are watching on YouTube and you're watching on LinkedIn, I'm going to put how you can get on the list for that, because when it goes out, I only can take a couple of people. So if you're watching on LinkedIn and you're watching on YouTube, I just put my website information in the comments for y'all. If you go to my website, you're going to see like the conference first. You want to scroll down to get on the newsletter. When you get on the newsletter, that is where I'm going to share where to register, what you're going to do, like all the things. Okay. So April 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to host a resume bootcamp. If you're watching me on IG, you're going to comment the word sauce, because we got the sauce, y'all. You're comment the word sauce. It's going to send you the link to get on my email list. So like that, you can join us for the bootcamp. Here's the thing. Only the people who are on the email list will get information on how to join us on April 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. Okay. So I'm based out of New York. It's going to be Eastern Standard Time. That is where I'm going to be able to bring up a resume. That's where I'll be able to break it down. I'll be able to show you the frameworks in real time. If that's something that you think that you need, and you know that you cannot afford to work with a career coach, or you're not enrolled in any of my programs, then that will be the place where you can get at least some of an idea of what a hiring manager is looking for and how you can prepare your resume to make sure that yours is ready. Okay. When you get to that place, when you get to the website, you're going to scroll down to where it says newsletter and make sure that you register for the newsletter. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get on the newsletter. I'm going to email you this Thursday with all of the recap of today, because I want to make sure that you get it. And then the information for the bootcamp will be available to you. Okay. So when we drop the registration for the bootcamp, it's only going to go out to the people who are on the email list. So make sure that you are on the list. The other reason that I want to make sure that you're always on the email list is because these platforms, they do whatever they want. And sometimes I think when I spoke to Meta, they told me that 10% of my audience sees my content. Do you know how disheartening that is? But if you're on my email list, then you don't miss anything. Okay, so this is why it becomes so important. So SAUCE is what you want to do. You're going to comment sauce, as in sauce. We got the sauce. Okay. And yeah, see, that makes me so sad. Somebody said true. I hardly see it. When you comment sauce on Instagram, you will get access to the link to join the newsletter. Upon joining the newsletter, we will share information with you about the April 10th resume bootcamp. I'm so glad I checked my calendar. My assistant is going to be so mad, but she loves me to the moon and back, and I love her. So comment sauce, get on the newsletter, make sure that you're ready because I'm pretty sure it's going to go quick. I can only take but so many people, and I want to make sure that I can serve y'all well. So I see that there are some questions. So I'm going to try to answer as many questions as possible. For my YouTube and LinkedIn fam, I am again going to drop the link for you to be able to get to the newsletter. So if you click on the link, if you're watching me on YouTube or you're watching me on LinkedIn, if you click on the link, you'll be able to get onto the newsletter. Okay. The newsletter, that's where we're going to drop the information in terms of how to register for the bootcamp. The bootcamp will be held on April 10th at 7 p.m. Hold on, let me look at my calendar. Yes, April 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tell a friend to tell a friend and pull up on me. Pull up. If you thought that this was helpful, wait until you see it in real time where I could share my screen or maybe even review some of your resumes. Okay. So pull up on your girl April 10th at 7 p.m. And we are going to get into subject matter material. April 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Help a friend out. Type that in the chat. April 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Resume Bootcamp. Okay? Come ready. Ready, because it's going to be a good time. All right, let me answer a couple of your questions. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, so I might have answered this already. But it says, especially government resumes, how should I format it so I can score high once the recruiter looks at it? So here's a couple things that I want to just bring some clarity surrounding. Okay, I am a hiring manager. Me. Some of my clients and some of my followers are recruiters. Okay. I'm gonna just quickly try to tell you the difference. And if you are a recruiter and you're watching and I say something wrong, help us out. Okay. But recruiters collaborate with hiring managers. More often than not, at least the recruiters that I worked with, like I tried to keep them on the same page that I was on. Like I wanted them to understand the way that I thought. So like that when they saw resumes and they were sending them my way, it would be like, okay, Susanna would think along these lines. Not every hiring manager works like that. Let me tell you a couple of reasons why you might be ghosted when it comes to working with a recruiter. It may very well not be anything that you did. Okay. It may be that you are an excellent candidate, but the hiring manager does not know what they want, which in turn brings confusion and delay to the recruiter. Which is why when you are responding to them or you are emailing them, hey, what's the status of my application? Hey, where am I at? Hey, how is this going? They can't give you an answer because the hiring manager has not figured out their life. Okay. And like, that sounds really harsh, but that's really the reality of where some recruiters and hiring managers, that's sometimes the dynamic of their relationships. And so if you are in that season, this is why I tell you not to just apply to one, right? Because sometimes y'all get really excited. You apply to one role and then you stop applying to everything else. Have options, because sometimes the hiring managers come up with like ideas of what they want. And in some cases, they're unrealistic. And so you have recruiters who are trying to figure out how to get into the hiring manager's head. And like, it's a hot mess. Okay. But when it comes to this question for government resumes, especially if they are working with a recruitment like organization, try to see if you should be able to do some research. Number one, what is that recruitment organization known for? Like, what roles are they known for recruiting? Because it may be that you're just not working with the right people. And I see that a lot. Okay. Sometimes people are working with one recruiter, assuming that there's a one size fits all. So that's number one. Number two, pay attention to what they're asking for on the job description and make sure that your resume is relevant to what they're asking for, especially when it comes to government jobs, especially when it comes to that. Don't list every possible thing because every possible thing may not be relevant to the role that they're applying for. And in this market, because of how much talent is currently out on the market, those that streamline and make it easy to read will likely be the people who get a call back. Okay. So I hope that that helped to answer your question. All right. Let's see. Uh, I'm getting, did anybody else ask a question? Okay. Um, Question here is, what tips do you have for someone who wants to change industries? I'm in legal management. Dash people new. I'm not sure what that means, but I can answer it from a perspective of if you're looking to change industries, if you're looking to change industries, um, especially if you're working on your resume, identify which format is going to be the good fit for you. I would also pay attention to the experience that you have. How is it relevant to the role that you're going for? Right? Like, how does it make sense for the role that you're going for? And it might be, especially if you're at a place where you're trying to pivot, it might be a good idea for you to be able to highlight your skills in a way that is relevant for the industry that you're pivoting to. So, for example, if you're going like from a very tangible sales based type of position, and now you're going to a more like business development, they're both sales roles, they just have different titles. So, you will need to be able to identify how do my skills, while the titles are different, still apply to this position, because sometimes what trips up a lot of people is that they look at the job titles and assume that they don't have the experience to be able to go after said job title. And then when we look at the bullets, this happens with my clients all the time. All the time. We sit through and we read job descriptions and they're like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. But because they looked at the job title to start, they're just like, oh, I'm not qualified for the position. And it's like, you actually are. You're probably overqualified. Okay. So that's what I would recommend. If you're going from one industry to another industry, share your skills as they are relevant to the position that you're applying for. And don't get caught up in the titles, get caught up in what they're asking for so that you can position yourself as an expert. Okay. Y'all are already giving me material for the boot camp because I probably could just teach on that. All right. Let's see. What's the other question? Uh, Okay. I love this question, and this is really good. Is it more effective to have multiple resumes if you're expanding your job? Here's what I'm going to say, and not too many people like this response. I'm going to encourage you to have one resume, and I'm going to encourage you to operate under an umbrella. So if I had one, I would show you. Um, the reason why I'm going to encourage you to have one resume and operate under an umbrella is when you have an umbrella that you're operating under, then the level of edits and changes that you need to make your resume will be minimal. So I then see, when I'm telling you, because I see it a lot, I see people apply for positions and it's like resume SBA final V1, resume SBA final V.2. And it's like, how many of these versions do you have? And then because of the naming conventions and because you are trying to figure it all out, sometimes it may not happen to this beautiful face who asked the question, but sometimes you're applying to one position, and because you don't remember how you named it the first time, you send the wrong resume. That's happened too. So instead of having multiple resumes, have an umbrella or a category. That's probably the better term. Have a category of jobs that you are going for, that your one resume is relevant for, because that will take the stress out. Can we agree that creating a resume is stressful? Some of y'all hate it. You do. And I get it. That's why I teach the way that I do. That's why I host conferences the way that I do. Because it should not be stressful. You are the asset. But because you are making decisions out of desperation and not from a place of affirmation, you got 40 million different types of resumes and you can't keep up with you. So if you can't keep up with you, how do you expect me as a hiring manager and or a recruiter to tell you what's going to be a good fit for you? Okay? So have a category, and then from there have the resume that fits to that category. This will help you not only with your resume, but it will also help you with your LinkedIn profile. And one of the things that I'm going to be teaching is your brand at the conference. So a lot of people will tell you, make sure you build your brand, make sure you build your brand. Ain't nobody telling you how to do that. But what I'm finding is that people misunderstand building their brand with just limiting it to their LinkedIn profile, their resume, and their cover letter. There is so much more to your brand, so much more. And I'm going to give you a quick example. I'm going to give you a taste of what it looks like when you go to the conference. If I were to say the word McDonald's, what do you think about? If I were to say the word McDonald's, what do you think about? Come on, somebody tell me in the chat. I say McDonald's, what do you think? I was just teaching this weekend. Yep. Look at the different varieties that you guys are giving me in the chat. You're giving me already different varieties. If I were to say the word Nike, what would you think about? What comes to mind when you hear the word Nike? What comes to mind when you hear the word Nike? I'm going to read some of your responses. I said McDonald's before. Some people said fast food, calories, French fries, golden arches, all the things. Right. I said Nike. Some of y'all are saying sneakers, sports, shoes, Air Force Ones. Hey, I have a couple. All of those things. So can you see now how I mention at the name of the mention of the brand, you immediately make associations. That's what I need for you. That's what I need you to operate under. So that at the mention of your name, immediately solutions come to the minds of people. But if all you're thinking about is a resume, cover letter, and a LinkedIn profile, that's not giving me solution. When I say Nike, you immediately told me sneakers. You immediately told me clothes. You immediately told me sports. So that if I am in the sports realm and I need a pair of shoes that's going to help me to be better at my sport, Nike is going to be the place that I'm going for. I said McDonald's, you told me arches. You told me French fries. You told me fast food. What does that do? That gives me direction. So that if I'm hungry, I know that I'm looking for arches because they serve fast food. Can you see now how when you have a brand, when you can speak to a brand, at the mention of the name, immediately solutions come to mind? At the mention of Susanna, I want you to immediately think career, six figures, leveling up, women supporting women. Like that, that's what I want. That is your brand. It's way more than just your resume. Stop limiting yourself to that. Stop limiting yourself to that. The same is true for your job title. This is why I want you to look at what is the functions that they're asking you for over the job title. Come on, y'all. I'm giving you conference gems right now. And that was only 5 minutes. Because too many of us introduce ourselves by the title that we have at work. Hi, my name is Susanna. I'm the administrative assistant for such and such. Okay, great. But that doesn't tell me the solution that you bring. Hi, my name is Susanna, and I help executives make sure that they win by being able to manage their calendars, being able to manage their expenses, and make sure that they have enough time in their calendars to be excellent at what they do. If I am a CEO, which I am, and someone introduces themselves to me like that, then immediately I know, man, my calendar gets out of line. I need somebody who could help me like that. Notice this is how you attract instead of having to chase. Okay. I don't have time, y'all. You got to sign up either for the boot camp or the conference because I don't have time to break this down. But see how powerful that is? You got to think like the enterprise and the business that you are. At the mention of your name, what do you want people to think about? For a long time, at the mention of my name, people understood higher education, warm, providing options, financial, because that's what I did. That's what I built my brand around. Okay. But now, at the mention of my name, it looks real different. You can do the same. You can do the same. One of the things that I strongly believe is that God doesn't tease me and he doesn't tease you either. So if he's exposed you to me, it's because he wants you to realize that if he was able to do it for me, he can do it for you. Okay? I'm taking y'all to church real quick. So the boot camp is going to happen on April 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m., April 10th. The conference is taking place June 25th and June 26th. It's in person. I will not be streaming the conference. I am so sorry. I'm not there yet. Okay? When I get to a point where I could stream it for y'all, I will. I promise. But if you enjoy these types of lives, it's going to be 2 days of this. Because at the end of the conference, not only are you going to walk away with a great resume and all that other jazz, you're going to walk away understanding your brand and how you position yourself. So like that, when people say your name, opportunities automatically start to come. Okay. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope you get on the newsletter so like that you can get the information for the April 10th boot camp. It is only going to go to the people who are on the newsletter. Please, 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 please make sure that you get on the newsletter. That is also the place where I give a lot of information on the conference. Okay. The conference is going to be held in New York, June 25th and June 26th. And it is going to be powerful. Powerful. If that branding example that I just gave you was powerful, it's going to be 2 days of that in a room, networking with other women. So, like that, we're not just about this, like, we just don't talk about it. We are about it. Okay. All right. All right. I love y'all. I hope that you got a lot of information. But not only do I hope that you got a lot of information, I hope you apply the information that you learned. Okay. So I will catch you guys on the flip. This live will be saved. So you will be able to get it back if you missed it or if you joined us late. And if this helped you, sharing is caring. Make sure you share it with someone else who can use it. Okay. All right, y'all. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.